Section: Introduction. In this section, we discuss the significant role of large language models, LLMs, in artificial intelligence, particularly in natural language processing. These models have transformed areas like text generation, translation, and sentiment analysis, becoming essential tools in both industry and academia. However, their rapid growth has highlighted important issues, especially the divide between open-source and closed-source models. This division raises questions about transparency, accessibility, and fair distribution of AI benefits, which we will explore throughout this paper. Closed-source models, such as OpenAI's GPT-4, have set high benchmarks due to their proprietary training datasets and substantial computational resources. While they demonstrate impressive capabilities in reasoning and conversation, they face criticism for their lack of transparency and reproducibility. The concentration of resources in a few organizations has also created inequities in AI development, limiting opportunities for many researchers and practitioners. In contrast, open-source models like Llama and Bloom have emerged as viable alternatives, promoting accessibility and community-driven innovation. These models allow researchers to advance natural language processing without needing extensive computational power. Recent advancements in fine-tuning techniques have helped close the performance gap between open-source and closed-source models. Projects like Bloom's multilingual framework showcase the potential of open-source initiatives to tackle linguistic diversity, while Llama demonstrates high performance with efficient resource use. To understand the current landscape of LLMs, we must consider their historical development. Early statistical models, based on probabilistic methods, laid the foundation for computational linguistics but struggled with long-range dependencies. The shift to neural network models in the 2000s, including word embeddings and recurrent networks, improved our ability to process language but faced scalability issues. The introduction of the transformer architecture in 2017 marked a turning point, enabling better handling of long-range dependencies and parallel processing. Subsequent innovations, such as BERT's bidirectional training and GPT's autoregressive design, further advanced the field. The release of GPT-3, with its massive scale, demonstrated the benefits of larger models. However, open-source models like Bloom and Llama quickly matched these benchmarks, proving that high performance can be achieved without relying on proprietary systems. In this paper, we aim to clarify the key issues influencing the future of computational linguistics by examining the dynamics between open and closed-source LLMs. We will explore the innovation processes behind these models, compare their performance, assess accessibility and use cases, and discuss ethical considerations regarding transparency. Finally, we will outline potential future research directions to promote innovation while ensuring fair AI deployment and governance. Section Summary. In this section, we discuss the evolution and significance of large language models, LLMs, in natural language processing, highlighting the critical divide between open-source and closed-source approaches. We emphasize the importance of transparency, accessibility, and equitable AI distribution, while noting how open-source models like Llama and Bloom are emerging as viable alternatives that promote community-driven innovation and address performance gaps without the need for extensive resources. Section: Innovation and Development. In this section, we examine the performance and accessibility of open-source and closed-source large language models, LLMs. The performance of these models reflects their architecture, training data, and optimization methods, but we need to analyze their strengths more closely. Closed-source models, like GPT-4, excel in benchmarks such as Human Eval and GSM-8K, largely due to their access to proprietary datasets and extensive training data. These models are trained on hundreds of terabytes of data, enabling them to perform well on various tasks with little fine-tuning. This is why closed-source models are better at generative tasks like creative writing and summarization. For instance, GPT-4 has 1 trillion parameters, which, along with its chain-of-thought prompting, helps it outperform many open-source models in complex problem-solving and reasoning. However, closed-source models face challenges, such as data contamination, where overlaps between training and evaluation datasets can undermine benchmark reliability. The lack of transparency in their datasets makes it hard to validate results independently. Despite these challenges, open-source LLMs have made significant strides in performance. Techniques like low-rank adaptation, LoRA, and conditioned reinforcement learning fine-tuning, CRLFT, have been key to this progress. LoRA allows for selective fine-tuning, reducing computational costs while achieving competitive results on benchmarks like GSM-8K. For example, NVIDIA's NVLM 1.0D72B model shows excellence in specific domains, improving performance in mathematical reasoning and coding tasks through multimodal training. Unlike some other models that lose text performance after multimodal training, NVLM enhances its text capabilities, proving effective in handling complex inputs. We also see similar success in domain-specific models like StarCoder and Clinical BERT, which are optimized for programming and medical tasks, respectively. These models often outperform general-purpose closed-source models in benchmarks. Techniques like knowledge distillation and model compression further illustrate how open-source models can rival and even surpass closed-source models in specialized applications while remaining accessible to those with fewer resources. While open-source models are transparent and promote reproducibility, their benchmarking is limited by narrower datasets and fewer resources. Current benchmarks often focus on specific tasks, missing the complexity of real-world applications. Resource disparities also affect performance, as closed-source models benefit from high-performance systems, while open-source models rely on collaborative resource sharing. To improve comparisons, we need to develop evaluation frameworks that are parameter-normalized and task-agnostic. Regarding accessibility, open-source LLMs like Llama and BLOOM have played a crucial role in making LLM technology more available. Llama allows researchers to perform advanced NLP tasks on single GPUs, lowering computational barriers while achieving high performance, especially in reasoning and math tasks. Similarly, Bloom, developed by over 1,000 researchers, supports multiple languages and showcases the potential of open science to broaden LLM applications and include underrepresented communities. Techniques like LoRA enhance accessibility by reducing the computational needs for fine-tuning, allowing developers to adapt models like GPT-3 for specific tasks with fewer resources. Smaller models, such as DistillBERT, also help bridge the gap between advanced NLP capabilities and practical use by maintaining high language understanding while being more efficient. Domain-specific LLMs, like Clinical BERT, improve performance in healthcare tasks, ensuring that even organizations with limited resources can access advanced NLP tools. Similarly, Legal BERT and FinBERT cater to specific needs in the legal and financial sectors, outperforming general-purpose models in their respective tasks. While closed-source models like Codex can enhance accessibility in targeted areas, such as through GitHub Copilot, they often lack the customization and transparency that open-source models provide. Overall, we see that open-source systems are increasingly versatile and accessible, addressing niche requirements while supporting smaller organizations. Section Summary. In this section, we compare the performance and accessibility of open-source and closed-source large language models, LLMs, noting that closed-source models like GPT-4 excel due to their extensive datasets and architecture, while open-source models have made significant strides through techniques like low-rank adaptation and domain-specific optimizations. We highlight how open-source initiatives democratize access to advanced NLP tools, enabling broader applications, although they face challenges in benchmarking and resource disparities compared to their closed-source counterparts. Section: Transparency. In this section, we explore the ethical aspects of large language models, LLMs, focusing on transparency as a key factor in assessing their fairness, accountability, and trustworthiness. We notice a significant trade-off between open-source and closed-source models regarding visibility and control. Open-source models provide full access to their inner workings, allowing for detailed examination and ethical scrutiny, but they often lack the necessary governance for consistent ethical practices. On the other hand, closed-source models safeguard their intellectual property, which can erode public trust and accountability. Open-source LLMs encourage transparency by allowing unrestricted access to their designs, training methods, and data. This openness enables researchers to check for biases, evaluate fairness, and identify weaknesses in decision-making. Platforms like GitHub and Hugging Face support this by sharing models and providing documentation that highlights ethical considerations and limitations. However, the effectiveness of this transparency can be hampered by inconsistent documentation quality, which sometimes leads to vague descriptions of ethical risks. To enhance transparency, we believe it is essential to establish standardized frameworks for ethical auditing, including detailed model cards that outline bias metrics, fairness evaluations, and potential misuse scenarios. Automated tools for ethical assessments could also complement human reviews, ensuring a baseline of accountability. In contrast, closed-source LLMs operate in a way that limits visibility into their processes, making them difficult to audit. This lack of transparency can lead to biases that are hard to identify, as seen with models like Google's Gemini, which have produced outputs that reinforce harmful stereotypes. The absence of required disclosures about ethical risks further deepens the trust gap, especially in critical areas like healthcare and legal systems. We argue that regulatory frameworks are vital for closed-source LLMs, with mandates for transparency in high-risk applications. These could include requirements for sharing anonymized datasets and engaging independent ethics boards for risk assessments. While these measures may not achieve the same level of transparency as open-source models, they can still provide important insights into ethical issues. Ultimately, bridging the gap between open-source and closed-source LLMs will require hybrid solutions that leverage the strengths of both. For example, closed-source developers could share anonymized components to allow for third-party evaluations, while open-source models could adopt advanced ethical assessment tools to improve their auditing processes. By combining these approaches, we can create systems that excel in performance while adhering to principles of fairness and accountability. In our discussion, we analyze the different paths of open-source and closed-source LLMs, noting that while closed-source models excel in performance due to proprietary resources, they limit transparency and accessibility. Open-source models, although sometimes trailing in performance, emphasize collaboration and inclusivity, making significant strides in addressing real-world challenges. Accessibility is a key difference. Closed-source systems have made strides in specific areas but often lack customization. Open-source models, however, offer flexibility that fosters innovation across various sectors. Ethical considerations further distinguish these models, with closed-source systems facing trust issues due to their opacity, while open-source models prioritize transparency but struggle with documentation consistency. We see potential in a hybrid approach that combines the transparency of open-source models with regulatory measures to ensure responsible AI deployment. Future research could focus on addressing the issue of hallucinations in LLMs, distinguishing between creative outputs and errors, and enhancing reasoning capabilities through interdisciplinary collaboration. Open-source ecosystems are well suited for this, as they provide the necessary transparency and flexibility for innovative experimentation. In conclusion, while closed-source LLMs currently lead in performance, open-source models offer unmatched accessibility and the potential for equitable AI development. The future of open-source LLMs relies on building a strong community of contributors to drive innovation and tackle global challenges in natural language processing.